hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin. Jack Halter's calloused hands pressed against the blueprint spread across the hood of his truck. The morning sun cast long shadows across the renovation site as his crew waited for instructions. He traced a finger along the main support beam. "We need to reinforce this section before we do anything else," he said, voice steady and measured. "The foundation shows signs of stress. Everything has cracks if you look close enough." His foreman nodded. The men dispersed to their stations, tools in hand. Jack checked his watch. 5:30 p.m. Lorna would be at yoga, or so she claimed. He folded the blueprint with mechanical precision, each crease exact, each movement deliberate. Like everything in his life, Jack believed in order, in structure. He had built his construction company from nothing, dragging himself out of poverty through sheer force of will and an uncompromising work ethic. The drive home took exactly 17 minutes. Jack parked in the driveway of their two-story colonial. From the outside, it was perfect manicured lawn, fresh paint, symmetrical windows. Jack had renovated it himself when they bought it 8 years ago. Inside, though, something had changed. The house felt hollow now, like an empty stage set. He entered through the garage, boots scraping on the mat. The kitchen gleamed with unused appliances and polished granite. Everything in its place. Too perfect, too staged that on the counter sat Lorna's half-empty coffee mug. Jack touched it. Cold. She'd left hours ago. His phone buzzed that won't be home until 8. Extended yoga session. Don't wait up for dinner. Jack stared at the message. Extended yoga. The third time this week that he opened the refrigerator, pulled out a beer, and twisted off the cap. The house was quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. Jack walked upstairs, past the framed wedding photos, Lorna in white, his arm around her waist, both smiling. Her smile had been real then. He was sure of it. Their bedroom was immaculate. Jack stopped at the doorway. Something was different. He scanned the room, taking inventory. The pillows were arranged with military precision. The duvet was smooth and unwrinkled. Too perfect, like someone had made it in a hurry. Jack opened the closet. Lorna's clothes hung neatly, organized by color. He reached for her dry cleaning bag, pulled out a blouse, brought it to his nose. A perfume he didn't recognize. Not the one he had bought her for their anniversary. The bathroom counter was spotless, but the trash can held a receipt from a lingerie store. Victoria's Secret, dated 3 days ago. Jack couldn't remember the last time Lorna had worn lingerie for him. He moved to her nightstand, hesitated, then pulled open the drawer. Inside, a new bottle of perfume. A romance novel with a dog-eared page. And her old phone, the one she claimed had broken last month. Jack plugged it in. Waited. The screen flickered to life. Password protected. He tried her birthday. Failed. Their anniversary. Failed. Her mother's birthday. Failed. Then he tried the date they met. The phone unlocked. Jack sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through messages that weren't there. Deleted. But why keep an old phone if you've deleted everything? He checked her call history. Multiple calls to yoga studio. But the number didn't match the actual yoga studio she supposedly attended. Jack set the phone down, stared at the wall. He didn't shout, didn't throw anything, didn't punch the wall. Instead, he pulled a small notebook from his back pocket and made a note of the number. Downstairs, he heard the garage door open. He quickly replaced the phone, shut the drawer, and was sitting in the living room with paperwork spread out when Lorna walked in. She was beautiful, tall, and slender, her blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, yoga pants hugging her curves. She startled when she saw him. "Oh, I didn't think you'd be home yet." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Finished early today." Jack didn't look up from his papers. Lorna set her gym bag down. "I'm going to shower." Jack nodded, still not looking up. "How was yoga?" "Good." "Intense." She paused. "New instructor. What's their name?" A beat too long before she answered. "David." Jack made another mental note. "Never heard you mention him before." "He's new." She hurried upstairs. Jack heard the shower turn on. He moved to her gym bag, unzipped it quietly. Inside, yoga mat, water bottle, towel. All dry, unused. And beneath them, a pair of lace underwear different from what she'd been wearing that morning. That night, Jack lay awake beside his sleeping wife. Her breathing was shallow, peaceful. Through the bedroom window, Moonlight cast shadows across her face. Once, he would have reached out to touch her cheek. Now, he just watched, feeling the distance between them widen with each passing second. Lorna's phone buzzed on her nightstand. A text. She didn't stir. Jack didn't reach for it. Not yet. But he knew what he had to do in the morning. He left for work earlier than usual. Instead of heading to the construction site, he drove to an electronics store in the next town over. He'd done a security job for a rich client 2 years back. Had learned a few things by noon. He had what he needed. Tiny cameras, a signal interceptor, software to clone messaging apps. Jack wasn't a man who believed in second chances. He believed in evidence, in facts, in truth, no matter how painful. That evening, while Lorna was at her book club, he installed the cameras, one in the bedroom, hidden in a smoke detector, one in the living room, disguised as a picture frame, one aimed at the front door. He cloned her phone when she was in the shower. Then he waited. 3 days later, Jack sat his truck 2 blocks from their house. On his laptop screen, a live feed showed their bedroom. Lorna entered, phone pressed to her ear. She was laughing, a sound he rarely heard these days. "No, he's working late. I know. I miss you too." She paused, listening. "You're bad. But yes, I want that." "No." Jack has no idea. He never notices anything. Jack's hands tightened on the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. But his face remained expressionless. Over the next 2 weeks, the evidence mounted. Jack didn't confront her, didn't show his hand. He logged everything, tracked every meeting, every lie, every betrayal, and then he saw them. All 3 of them. Different days, different times, but the same betrayal. First, the trainer. Young, muscled, tattooed, cocky grin, grabbing Lorna roughly as soon as she closed the front door, calling her Lolo as he pushed her against the wall, taking her on the couch Jack had bought for their 10th anniversary. Then the neighbor, Joseph Renner, married, 2 kids, slipping into their house when his wife was at work, whispering "my muse" as he undressed her in their bed, making promises about a future together. And finally, the worst, James Kincaid, Jack's cousin, the man who had stolen Jack's business idea 6 years ago, then left him to drown in debt while James launched a startup with Jack's plans. Now he was taking something else that belonged to Jack. Each man thought they were special. Each one believed Lorna's lies. Jack watched it all without a word, without a sound. Just the quiet scratch of his pen in his notebook as he documented dates, times, and details. At night, he lay beside his wife, listening to her breathing, wondering when exactly she had stopped loving him, wondering if she ever had got on day 17 of his surveillance. Jack made a decision. He picked up his phone and called a number he hadn't dialed in years. "Mara, it's Jack. Can we meet? I need your help." The bar was nearly empty at 2 in the afternoon. Jack sat in a corner booth, back to the wall, facing the door. Old habits. He nursed a beer he hadn't really touched. Mara Valen pushed through the door, scanning the room until she spotted him. Her red hair was shorter than he remembered, framing a face that had grown sharper with age. But her eyes were the same, intense, intelligent, missing nothing. She slid into the booth across from him. 11 years, Jack. That's how long it's been. I know. He met her gaze. Thanks for coming. Your voice sounded like death on the phone. What happened? Jack took a sip of his beer. Lorna's cheating on me. Mara didn't look surprised. With who? 3 different men. At the same time. Now Mara's eyebrows raised. Jesus, Jack. My cousin James. Our neighbor Joseph. Her gym trainer. Mara let out a low whistle. James? The same cousin who? Yes, the same one. Jack's voice was flat. What are you going to do? Mara leaned forward. Jack looked at her, really looked at her. Mara had been his first love, his best friend. They'd grown up together in the same dirt-poor neighborhood, had helped each other survive. Then life had pulled them in different directions. But he knew, without doubt, that he could trust her. This isn't just betrayal, he said quietly. This is war, and I need someone I can trust. Mara didn't hesitate. I'm in. Jack showed her the footage on his phone. The messages, the evidence he'd collected. Mara watched in silence, her expression hardening with each new revelation. Your cousin is a special kind of bastard, she finally said. What's your plan? I need better tracking. Phone GPS, movement patterns. You still work in tech security? Mara nodded. Moved on from that corporate job. 10 bar at night now. But I still do freelance security work. I can help you set up backdoor access to her phone GPS, better surveillance. What else? Jack stared at his beer. I haven't decided yet, but it won't be pretty. Mara reached across the table and gripped his wrist. Jack, how far are you planning to go? He met her eyes. 3 graves. 1 ghost. She held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this smart. No mistakes. No mistakes, he agreed. They spent the next 2 hours huddled over their phones and a laptop Mara had brought. She showed him how to access Lorna's location history, how to intercept her messages without leaving traces, how to track her movements in real time. The trainer Devin, he posts everything on Instagram, Mara said, scrolling through a feed full of gym selfies and motivational quotes. Look at this, he's bragging about a private client who's paying extra for personal attention. Jack's jaw tightened. He's 29, almost a decade younger than her. The neighbor Joseph, he's got financial problems, Mara continued, pulling up public records. Second mortgage on his house. Credit card debt. Wife probably has no idea. And James? Jack asked. Mara pulled up his cousin's company website. Startup's failing. He's been laying people off. But he just bought a new BMW. With what money? Good question. Mara typed rapidly. Your wife's been making withdrawals. 2,000 here. 3,000 there. Over the past 6 months. Jesus, Jack. $18,000. Jack didn't react. Just made another note in his book. What about their schedules? He asked. Mara pulled up a calendar. Based on her patterns and their social media, Devin meets her Mondays and Wednesdays at the gym. Then they go to his place. Joseph sneaks over when his wife has her book club Tuesday nights. And James, he meets her at hotels. Different ones each time. More careful than the others. Jack nodded. Of course he is. They were quiet for a moment. They all think they're the only one. Mara asked. Yes. Lorna's careful. Keeps them separated. Different stories for different men. Mara closed her laptop. What now, Jack? He finished his beer in one long swallow. Now I start with the trainer. Jack parked his truck a block away from Devin's apartment building. The gym where Devin worked was just closing. Through the large front windows, Jack could see him locking up, flirting with a young woman as she left at Jack's phone buzzed. It was Mara. He's posted his workout schedule for tomorrow. 6 a.m. at Redmond Park, then straight to the gym. You sure about this? Jack typed back, yes. Keep monitoring Lorna's movements. Let me know if anything changes. He started his truck and drove home, where Lorna was already asleep or pretending to be. Jack lay awake beside her, planning. In the morning, he was gone before dawn. Redmond Park was quiet, the running paths empty except for a few early joggers. Jack wore running clothes, a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He stretched near the entrance, waiting. 5:58 a.m., Devin's black Mustang pulled into the parking lot. He stepped out in compression shorts and a tank top that showed off his tattooed arms. Jack watched him start his run, timing his own jog to intersect with Devin's path near the wooded section of the trail. As Devin approached, Jack stumbled slightly, dropping his water bottle directly in the trainer's path. Sorry, man, Jack said, bending to retrieve it just as Devin had to stop short. No problem, Devin said, barely glancing at Jack. Hey, don't you work at Peak Fitness? Jack asked, straightening up. Now Devin looked at him properly, professional smile sliding into place. Sure do. You a member? Not yet. Thinking about it, though. Jack extended his hand. I'm Tom. Devin shook it. Devin Cross. Personal trainer. Actually, this might be perfect timing, Jack said. I own Halter Construction. We're bidding on renovating a new gym space over on Westfield Road. Owner mentioned he needs a consultant for equipment layout. Devin's eyes lit up with interest. Yeah, that sounds like something I could help with. You interested in some side work? Pays well. Definitely, man. Jack pulled out his phone. Great. I can text you the details. We're meeting at the site tomorrow. Just a quick walkthrough. The owner wants input from a fitness professional. Devin typed his number into Jack's phone. What time? 7 p.m. After your last client. Devin hesitated. How'd you know my schedule? Jack smiled. Your Instagram. You post your availability every week. Oh, right. Devin looked relieved. Tomorrow at 7. Send me the address. Will do. And hey, this could turn to more work if the owner likes your input. He's planning to open 3 more locations. Devin grinned. Sweet, man. I appreciate that. Jack nodded and jogged away, his face hardening as soon as he turned. That night, he prepared. He drove to the abandoned construction site his company had started working on last year, before the developer went bankrupt. The half-finished structure stood isolated, surrounded by empty lots. Perfect. He texted the address to Devin, then set up what he needed in the exposed basement area. A plastic tarp, a duffel bag containing rope, duct tape, and a first aid kit. An aluminum baseball bat. Jack wasn't afraid. He'd grown up fighting first to protect himself from his alcoholic father, then to protect his mother, then to survive in a neighborhood where weakness meant death. He'd learned early, be the predator or be the prey. He sat in his truck, watching the entrance. At 6:58 p.m., Devin's Mustang pulled up. Jack stepped out to meet him. Tom, this place looks dead, Devin said, looking around at the abandoned site. Developer went under, Jack explained, leading him toward the structure. New investors looking to convert it to a gym instead of condos. That's why we need your input, see if the space works before we commit. They entered the half-finished building. Exposed beams, dangling wires, concrete dust. Where's the owner? Devin asked, suddenly wary. Running late. Traffic. Jack gestured toward the stairs. Let me show you the basement level. That's where the weight room would go. Devin followed him down the stairs. At the bottom, Jack flipped on a work light, illuminating the empty space. The tarp was hidden behind a stack of drywall. So what kind of gym are they thinking? CrossFit style or more traditional? Devin asked, looking around. You tell me. You're the expert. Jack's voice had changed, hardened. Devin turned, suddenly alert to the shift. Where'd you say the owner was? He's not coming. Jack moved between Devin and the stairs. You know who I am? Devin took a step back. Tom, Jack. Jack Halter. Devin froze. Recognition dawned on his face. Lorna's husband. Yes. Devin's cockiness returned quickly, a smirk forming. Look, man, these things happen. No need to get dramatic. She came on to me. Did she? Jack's voice was calm. Too calm. Yeah, man. These bored housewives, they all want a taste of something exciting. Devin spread his hands. No disrespect, but your wife was practically begging for it from day one. Jack nodded slowly. Tell me more. Emboldened by Jack's apparent composure, Devin continued. First day, she joined the gym. She was watching me. Second session, she hired me for private training. Third session, she was sending me pics. Devin laughed. Guess she wasn't getting what she needed at home, man. Jack didn't move. And you thought that was an invitation? She made it pretty clear what she wanted. Look, this doesn't have to be a big deal. I'll back off if that's what you want. Show me, Jack said. What? Show me what was so special she had to betray 11 years of marriage. Devin hesitated, then pulled out his phone with a cocky grin. Your call, man. Might hurt your feelings, though. He scrolled through his phone, then held it out. On the screen, Lorna, naked in their bed. Their bedroom. The wedding picture visible on the nightstand. Got plenty more, Devin said. Even got videos. She's a wild one, bet you didn't know that side of her. He swiped to a video and hit play. Lorna's voice filled the basement. Something in Jack snapped. The first blow caught Devin in the stomach, doubling him over. The second, an uppercut connected with his jaw, sending him sprawling onto the concrete floor. His phone skittered away. The fuck, man? Devin gasped, struggling to his feet. Jack retrieved the phone, pocketed it. Hey, give that back. Devin lunged forward. Jack sidestepped and drove his fist into Devin's kidney. The younger man grunted in pain but swung back, catching Jack in the shoulder. They circled each other. Devin had youth and muscle. Jack had rage and experience. Devin threw a hook that Jack blocked, countering with a jab to Devin's nose. Blood sprayed. You're dead. Devin shouted, charging forward. Jack ducked the wild swing and slammed his elbow into Devin's throat. The trainer staggered back, choking. Before he could recover, Jack retrieved the aluminum bat from behind the drywall stack. "You should thank me," Devin wheezed, spitting blood. "She finally smiles with me." The bat connected with Devin's knee. A sickening crack echoed through the empty basement. Devin screamed, collapsing. Jack didn't stop. The bat rose and fell. Ribs cracked. Blood splattered across concrete. Devin's screams turned to whimpers, then silence. When it was over, Jack stood over Devin's unconscious form. The trainer was alive, but badly injured. Jack checked his pulse. Steady. He dragged Devin onto the tarp, wrapping it around him. Then he pulled out his phone and showed Devin's face on the screen. "Recognize this?" Jack asked. Devin's swollen eyes fluttered open. Unfocused with pain on the screen was an email draft. Attached, the videos and photos from Devin's phone. Recipient, Devin's mother, and his boss, and Peak Fitness's corporate office, and a local newspaper. "No," Devin mumbled through broken teeth. "Don't." "Here's what happens," Jack said calmly. "You disappear. You leave town tonight. You never contact Lorna again. You delete every photo, every video, every text. If I see your face in Redmond after sunrise, I send this. And I finish what I started here." Tears mixed with blood on Devin's face. "Please. My career. Should have thought about that before you fucked a married woman and showed her husband the video." Jack stood up. "Your car keys are in your pocket. You have until morning." Jack walked up the stairs without looking back. Behind him, he could hear Devin sobbing. Outside, he called Mara. "It's done," he said. "One down." "How bad?" she asked. "He'll live. But he won't be training anyone for a while." Lorna just texted him. "He's not answering." "He won't." "Where's she now?" "Home. Waiting for you." Jack looked at his bloody knuckles. "I'll clean up. Be there in an hour." When he arrived home, Lorna was in the kitchen, cooking dinner. She turned with a smile that faltered when she saw the bruise forming on his cheek. "What happened?" "Accident at the site," Jack said, washing his hands at the sink. "Slipped on some debris. You should be more careful." She turned back to the stove. Jack watched her, this woman he'd once loved, this stranger in his house. "Anything interesting happened today?" he asked casually. Lorna shrugged. "Just the usual. Yoga. Some shopping. How's the new instructor? David, right?" A slight hesitation. "Fine. He's good." Jack nodded, a cold feeling settling in his chest. "Dinner smells good. It'll be ready in 10 minutes." Jack headed upstairs to shower, to wash away Devin's blood. In the bathroom, he checked his phone. A text from Mara. "Lorna's been trying to call Devin for the past hour. No answer. She's getting worried." Jack smiled for the first time in weeks. The next morning, Jack watched from his truck as Devin's Mustang, packed with hastily thrown-together belongings, sped out of town before dawn. One down, 2 to go. The morning after Devin fled town, Jack sat across from Mara at a small cafe 30 miles from Redmond. They spoke in low voices, heads bent over coffee cups. "Lorna's panicking," Mara said, scrolling through intercepted messages on her tablet. "She's texted Devin 27 times since last night. Called him 15 times. What about the others?" Jack asked. "The neighbor Joseph has no idea. He's still sending her his regular good morning, Muse texts." Mara's lip curled in disgust. "Your cousin is more cautious. Coded messages. Meeting times disguised as business appointments." Jack nodded. "Joseph next, then. What have you found?" Mara handed him a folder. "Bank records. Loan applications. Text exchanges. He's been taking money from Lorna, pretending to invest it in some startup opportunity. She's given him $18,000 over the past 4 months. For what? A fake investing opportunity. He told her he has connections to an exclusive tech startup that's about to go public. Early investors only. Guaranteed returns." Mara's eyes hardened. "It's a lie. He's been using the money to cover his gambling debts." Jack flipped through the documents. "His wife, no. She thinks they're doing fine. He handles all their finances." Jack was quiet for a moment. "He has kids. 2 daughters, 12 and 14. Jack closed the folder. "I don't want them hurt." "They already are," Mara said. "Their father's a liar and a cheat who's stealing their future to fund his gambling addiction." "How do we play this?" Mara leaned forward. I created a fake investment firm, Glenwood Partners. I've set up a website, emails, the works. I'm going to approach him as an investment scout. Tell him I've heard about his interest in tech startups. Offer him an opportunity. What kind of opportunity? A chance to buy into a property deal. Low risk, high return. But he needs to bring cash. 40,000. He doesn't have 40,000. Mara smiled. Exactly. But he'll try to get it. He's desperate. 3 days later, Joseph Renner walked into an abandoned mill on the outskirts of town, carrying a briefcase. The building was dark, dusty, filled with rusting machinery. Sunlight streamed through broken windows, illuminating dancing dust motes. "Hello," Joseph called out, his voice echoing. "Ms. Garcia? From Glenwood Partners." No answer. Joseph moved deeper into the building, briefcase clutched tightly in his hand. He was a small man, thin, with thinning hair and nervous eyes. He wore a cheap suit that had once been nice, but now showed where at the cuffs and collar. "Hello? Anyone here?" From the shadows, Jack watched. Joseph had been his neighbor for 5 years, had borrowed Jack's lawnmower, had attended barbecues in Jack's backyard, had shaken Jack's hand while looking him in the eye, and all the while, he'd been sleeping with Jack's wife, taking her money, promising her a future. Joseph reached the center of the mill's main floor, illuminated by a shaft of sunlight from above. He set down his briefcase and checked his watch. Frowned. "Mr. Renner," Jack said, stepping out of the shadows. Joseph spun around. "Jack, what are you doing here?" "Waiting for you." Joseph's eyes darted toward the exit. "I'm meeting someone. A business associate." "No, you're not." Jack moved closer. "There is no Ms. Garcia. No Glenwood Partners." Joseph licked his lips. "I don't understand." "I think you do." Jack gestured to the briefcase. "How much did you manage to scrape together?" "Not 40,000, I'm guessing." Realization dawned on Joseph's face. "This is some kind of setup?" "What?" "Open the briefcase, Joseph." "Jack, whatever you think is happening. Open it." With trembling hands, Joseph unlatched the briefcase and opened it. Inside, stacks of cash. Not 40,000. Maybe 15. "Where did you get it?" Jack asked. Joseph swallowed. "It's mine." "No, it's your daughter's college fund, isn't it?" Jack took out his phone. "Let me show you something." He played a recording. Lorna's voice came through clearly. "I've given you everything, Joe. $18,000. My savings. And you keep promising this investment is about to pay off. When?" Joseph's voice in response. "Soon, my muse. Just a little more time. And a little more money. This opportunity won't wait." Jack stopped the recording. "You've been stealing from my wife. Using her to fund your gambling addiction." "It's not like that," Joseph protested. "I love her. We're planning a future together. While you're still married. While she's still married. That future include your daughters." Joseph's face twisted with anger. "Like you're so perfect. She told me everything. How you ignore her. How you're never there. She needs someone who appreciates her. So you appreciate her money? Fuck you, Jack." Joseph lunged forward suddenly, swinging wildly. Jack sidestepped easily, grabbing Joseph's arm and twisting it behind his back. Joseph gasped in pain as Jack pushed him face first against a support column. "Here's what's going to happen," Jack said, his mouth close to Joseph's ear. "You're going to take this money back to the bank. Put it back in your daughter's accounts. Then you're going to confess to your wife about the gambling debts." "She'll leave me," Joseph whimpered. "Yes, she will. And you'll leave town. My job. You'll find another one. Somewhere else. And you'll never contact Lorna again." Jack released him. Joseph stumbled away, rubbing his arm. "Why should I do any of that?" he asked, a hint of defiance returning. "You can't prove anything." In answer, Jack played another recording. Joseph's voice. "I've never felt this way about anyone, Lorna. Not even my wife. When we're together, in your bed, while Jack's at work, it's like everything else disappears. I have hours of these," Jack said. "Texts, photos, evidence of financial fraud, wire transfers. I wonder what your boss at the bank would think. Or the police." Joseph's face crumpled. "Please, Jack. My daughters. Should have thought about them before you fuck my wife in my bed." Jack's voice was ice. "You have 48 hours. After that, these recordings go to your wife. Your boss. The police. Joseph picked up the briefcase with shaking hands. What about Lorna? Will you tell her? Not your concern anymore. Jack pointed to the exit. 48 hours, Joseph. Then I burn your life to the ground. Joseph backed away, then turned and ran, stumbling over debris in his haste to escape. Jack watched him go, then called Mara. 2 down. Jack sat in his truck outside Joseph's house the next evening. Through the living room window, he could see Joseph and his wife engaged in an intense conversation. The woman gesticulated wildly, tears streaming down her face. Joseph hung his head. Jack's phone buzzed. A text from Mara. Lorna's getting suspicious. She can't reach Devin. Joseph isn't answering her calls. She's made 3 calls to James today. Jack texted back. Keep monitoring. I'm dealing with James next. As he drove away from Joseph's house, Jack spotted the man's 2 daughters arriving home from a school activity, backpacks slung over their shoulders. They looked happy, innocent. Jack felt a twinge of something not regret, exactly, but awareness that his actions rippled beyond his targets, that he pushed the feeling aside. He hadn't created this situation, hadn't made Joseph betray his family, hadn't forced him to steal from his daughter's future. 2 days later, Jack watched from a distance as Joseph loaded suitcases into his car. His wife stood in the doorway, arms crossed, face hard. The daughters huddled together nearby, confused and tearful. Joseph drove away alone. His family remained behind, damaged but intact. Joseph had confessed, had returned the money, had agreed to leave. Whether out of fear of Jack or genuine remorse didn't matter. The result was the same. Later that day, Lorna paced the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear. Jack pretended to read the newspaper at the table, watching her. Joe, please call me back. I'm worried about you. About everything. Please. She hung up, biting her lip. Problem? Jack asked mildly. Lorna startled. No, just a friend. Going through a rough time. Anyone I know? Her eyes slid away from his. No, someone from yoga. Jack nodded and returned to his newspaper. Shame about the renters splitting up. Heard Joseph left town yesterday. Lorna froze. What happened? Gambling debts, apparently. Stole from his kids' college funds. His wife kicked him out. That's terrible. Lorna's voice shook slightly. Never would have guessed. Seemed like such a decent guy. Jack turned a page. Just shows you never really know someone. Lorna mumbled something about a headache and hurried upstairs. Jack heard the bedroom door close. Through the cameras, he watched her make a frantic call to James. 2 down. 1 to go. James Kincaid was a problem. Unlike Devin and Joseph, James was smart, cautious, and he knew Jack knew how he thought, how he operated. They had grown up together, had been friends once. Before James betrayed him 6 years ago, Jack had developed a construction technique that would drastically reduce costs for modular home building. He had shared the idea with James, his cousin, seeking investment to patent it. Instead, James had stolen the concept, filed the patent himself, and launched a startup that initially thrived on Jack's innovation. The company was failing now, karma, perhaps, but the betrayal still burned. And now James was sleeping with Jack's wife. He'll be harder to trap, Mara said as they sat in her apartment, surrounded by monitors. He's already suspicious. Look at these texts between him and Lorna. On the screen, Jack read, James, Devin's gone. Joseph too. Seems convenient. Lorna, you think Jack knows? James, maybe. Be careful. Don't call me from home. Lorna, he doesn't suspect anything. He's clueless. James, that's what you said about me 6 years ago too. Look how that turned out for him. Jack's jaw tightened. He's meeting her at the Crown Hotel tomorrow night, Mara said. Rooms booked under a fake name. Let's pay him a visit before that, Jack said. At his office. The next morning, Jack walked into the sleek but eerily quiet headquarters of Mod Homes Innovations. What had once been a bustling startup now felt like a ghost town. Empty desks, blank monitors. The receptionist looked surprised to see anyone walk through the door. I'm here to see James Kincaid, Jack said. Do you have an appointment? He'll see me. Tell him his cousin is here. The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. She picked up the phone, whispered into it, then nodded. Mr. Kincaid will see you now. End of the hall, corner office. James was waiting, standing behind his desk, when Jack entered. He hadn't changed much in 6 years, still handsome, still fit, still expensively dressed. But there were new lines around his eyes, tension in his shoulders. Jack. His smile didn't reach his eyes. This is unexpected, is it? Jack closed the door behind him. James gestured to a chair. Please, sit. Can I offer you a drink? I have scotch. No. James shrugged and poured himself one. So, to what do I owe this pleasure? Last time we spoke, you threatened to kill me. Did I? Jack remained standing. I don't recall making threats. Not in so many words. But the intent was clear. James sipped his scotch. Water under the bridge now, I assume? Given that you're here. How's business, James? A flash of irritation crossed James's face. Booming. Expanding into new markets. Jack looked pointedly at the empty office beyond the glass walls. Seems quiet for a booming business. Restructuring phase. Trimming the fat. Interesting. Because I heard you're 3 months from bankruptcy. James's smile tightened. You shouldn't believe everything you hear, cousin. New BMW, though. Must be doing something right. James leaned back in his chair. Cut the shit, Jack. Why are you here? I know about you and Lorna. The words hung in the air between them. James didn't flinch, didn't blink. Just took another sip of scotch. I don't know what you're talking about. I have footage, texts, hotel receipts. Now James's composure slipped just slightly. Bullshit. Jack took out his phone, played a recording. Lorna's voice, breathless. James. God, I've never felt like this. Never. You make me feel alive. James's voice in response. Leave him. Be with me. I can give you everything he can't. Jack stopped the recording. Want to hear more? I have hours. James set down his glass, carefully. So what now? You come to rub it in my face? Threaten me? Beat me up? He snorted. Or is this blackmail? You want money. I want you to end it. James laughed. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'll destroy you. With what? Some recordings? You think I care if people know I'm sleeping with your wife? James stood up, circling the desk to face Jack directly. She came to me, Jack. Practically begged me to fuck her. Said you couldn't satisfy her anymore. Jack didn't move, didn't react. Emboldened, James continued. You know what's really funny? When we're in bed, she calls me by a name sometimes. Says I'm everything you used to be before you got boring. Before you stopped trying. Are you finished? Jack's voice was quiet. Not even close. She's moving in with me next month. We've been planning it for weeks. She's going to take you for everything, Jack. The house. The business. Everything. James smiled, cold and triumphant. Guess I've always taken what you couldn't hold on to. Jack finally moved, but not to attack. He simply turned toward the door. That's it. James called after him. No fight. No threats. Just walking away. Jack paused, hand on the doorknob. You should be careful, James. Bad things happen to people who take what isn't theirs. Is that a threat? Just an observation. Jack left without looking back. That night, Jack lay awake beside Lorna, listening to her breathing. On the nightstand, her phone lit up with a text message. When she didn't stir, Jack picked it up. The text was from James. Your husband paid me a visit today. Thinks he knows about us. Be ready to move things up. I'll call you tomorrow. Attached was a video clip. Jack pressed play. Lorna and James in Jack's bed. The wedding photo visible on the nightstand. James's voice, mocking. Thanks for the hospitality, cousin. Jack deleted the message, replaced the phone, and stared at the ceiling. In the darkness, a plan took shape in his mind. Not just revenge now. Something more permanent. In the morning, Jack called Mara. I need your help with one last thing, he said. The cousin. What's the plan? Mara asked. I need to borrow your cabin. The one in the woods. Jack, what are you thinking? Better if you don't know the details. A long silence. Then, the keys under the third flower pot on the porch. There's no security system. No cameras. No neighbors for 2 miles. Thank you. Jack. Mara hesitated. Be careful. Always am. 3 days later, James received a text from Lorna's phone. Need to see you tonight. Important. Not at the hotel. Somewhere private. I have something to show you. James responded. Where? Lorna's phone. I'll send directions. Come alone. 10 p.m. That night, Jack waited at Mara's cabin. The isolated structure sat deep in the woods, accessible only by a winding dirt road. Inside, Jack had prepared everything. A chair in the center of the living room, rope, duct tape, and a hunting rifle propped against the wall. At 9:45 p.m., Jack heard a car approaching. He glanced at his phone. A live feed showed James's BMW pulling up the dirt drive, headlights cutting through the darkness. James got out, looked around nervously, then approached the cabin at a knock at the door. "It's open," Jack called. James entered, then froze when he saw Jack. "What the hell is this? Where's Lorna?" "She's not coming." Jack gestured to the chair. "Sit down, James." "Fuck you." James turned to leave. The gun was in Jack's hand before James reached the door. "I said sit down." James slowly raised his hands. "Jack, think about what you're doing." "I have. For weeks now." Jack motioned with the gun. "Sit." James sat, eyes never leaving the rifle. "This is kidnapping. Assault with a deadly weapon. You'll go to prison." "Maybe." Jack circled behind him, hands behind the chair. When James hesitated, Jack pressed the barrel of the rifle against the back of his head. James complied. Jack bound his wrists with zip ties, then moved back around to face him. "What do you want, Jack? Money?" "I don't have any. The company's failing." "I know." Jack set the rifle down just out of James's reach. "But you still found money for a new BMW, and hotel rooms, and jewelry for my wife. Is that what this is about?" "Lorna." James laughed, though his eyes showed fear. "For God's sake, Jack. She's just a woman." Jack didn't respond. He took out a small vial and a syringe. "What is that?" James asked, real panic edging into his voice. "Ketamine, stolen from a veterinary clinic." Jack filled the syringe. "Don't worry. Not lethal at this dosage. Just going to make you sleep for a while." "Jack, stop." James struggled against his restraints. "We're family. Think about what you're doing. We were family until you stole my patent. My idea. My future." Jack approached with the syringe. "Now you're stealing my wife. You're going to kill me because your wife liked me more." James laughed, a brittle sound tinged with desperation. "That's pathetic, Jack. Even for you. I'm not going to kill you because of Lorna," Jack said, plunging the needle into James's neck. "I'm going to kill you because you're a thief, and I don't give second chances." James's struggles weakened as the drug took effect. His eyes grew unfocused, his head lolling. "When I'm done," Jack said, leaning close to his cousin's ear, "everyone will think Lorna killed you." The last thing James saw before unconsciousness claimed him was Jack's face cold, methodical, determined. Jack worked through the night. Meticulous, careful, leaving nothing to chance. First, the burner phone. The one he'd used to text James from Lorna's number. He placed it in James's pocket, making sure Lorna's fingerprints were on it. She'd handled it weeks ago, when Jack had found it and asked her if it was hers. She'd picked it up, examined it, handed it back. Perfect prints. Next, the gun. A .38 revolver Jack had purchased years ago, legally registered in his name. Lorna had fired it once, at a shooting range on their 5th anniversary. Her prints were on the grip, the barrel, the trigger. Jack carried James's unconscious form into the woods, propping him against a tree. He used James's own phone to send a text to Lorna. "It's over. Jack knows everything. If you ever show this video again, you're dead. Scheduled to deliver in 20 minutes. Then another text from Lorna's regular phone to James. "Where are you?" "We need to talk about Jack." Scheduled for 5 minutes after the first text. Jack checked his watch. Almost dawn. James was starting to stir, the ketamine wearing off. Time to finish this. That he positioned himself in front of his cousin, waited until James's eyes fluttered open. "Welcome back," Jack said. James blinked, disoriented. "Jack, please don't do this." "It's already done." Jack showed him the burner phone. "This will be found with your body. The text show Lorna threatened you. The gun has her prints. Her car is parked half a mile away. I drove it here last night while she was asleep. No one will believe she killed me." James slurred, still fighting the drug's effects. "They will when they find the money transfers. The hotel receipts. The life insurance policy she took out on you 3 months ago." "What policy?" "There's no policy." Jack smiled thinly. "There is now. Amazing what you can do with the right software and access to someone's personal information. James lunged forward suddenly, but his movements were sluggish. Jack easily sidestepped, watching as James sprawled face first in the dirt. "What?" James gasped, pushing himself up. "Why frame her? Why not just kill me and be done with it? Because you both betrayed me. You both need to pay." James started to say something else, but Jack had heard enough. He raised the revolver and fired. Once, cleanly, through the forehead. The sound echoed through the woods, sending birds scattering from nearby trees. Jack worked quickly. He placed the gun in James's hand, arranged to look like suicide, then changed his mind. Too complicated. Better to make it look like a confrontation gone wrong. He placed the gun on the ground near James's body, wiped his own prints from everything he'd touched, made sure Lorna's prints were still on the crucial evidence. In James's pocket, the burner phone buzzed. The scheduled text had sent. Jack started the hike back to his truck, parked 2 miles away on a service road. By the time anyone found James's body, Jack would be back home, sleeping beside Lorna. She wouldn't even know he'd been gone. As he walked through the lightning woods, Jack felt nothing. No remorse, no guilt, just a cold certainty that justice was being served. 3 betrayals. 3 consequences. One loose and remained. Lorna herself. But her fate was already sealed. The courtroom was packed. Row after row of spectators, reporters, curious locals. All eyes on the defendant's table, where Lorna Halter sat in a gray suit, her blonde hair pulled back severely, her face pale beneath carefully applied makeup. Jack sat in the front row of the gallery, directly behind the prosecution table. Beside him, Mara Vallon watched the proceedings with sharp eyes, occasionally squeezing Jack's hand in silent support. The prosecutor stood, a tall woman with steel-gray hair and a reputation for ruthlessness. "The state calls Detective Robert Wilson." The detective took the stand, was sworn in. A veteran cop with tired eyes and methodical speech. "Detective Wilson, please tell the court about the evidence you discovered at the scene of James Kincaid's murder." The detective nodded. The victim was found with a single gunshot wound to the head in a wooded area approximately 15 miles outside of Redmond. A .38 caliber revolver was recovered at the scene. The gun was registered to the defendant's husband, but her fingerprints were on the weapon. "What else did you find, detective?" "A burner phone in the victim's pocket. It contained threatening texts sent from the defendant to the victim. The defendant's vehicle was found approximately half a mile from the crime scene, hidden on a service road." "Did you discover a motive for this crime?" "Yes. The victim and the defendant were having an affair. Based on text messages and hotel receipts, this had been going on for approximately 7 months. Additionally, we discovered that the defendant had taken out a life insurance policy on the victim 3 months before his death, naming herself as beneficiary." The prosecutor turned to the judge. "The state would like to enter the life insurance policy as Exhibit C." Jack watched him passively. The forgery Mara had created was flawless. Backdated records, digital signatures, all pointing to Lorna. The defense attorney, young, overworked, underpaid, objected weakly to some of the evidence. The judge overruled most objections. Lorna kept looking back at Jack, her eyes pleading. He met her gaze without expression. During a recess, she approached him in the courthouse hallway, a guard hovering nearby. "Jack," she whispered, "please, you know I didn't do this." He looked at her as if she were a stranger. "Do I? I know I hurt you. The affairs. I was wrong. So wrong. But I didn't kill James. You have to believe me." Jack was silent for a long moment. Then, "You made your choices, Lorna. Now you live with them. But I'm facing life in prison." Tears filled her eyes. "Jack, please, help me. If you ever loved me." "I did love you," he interrupted. "For 11 years, I loved you. I built a life for us. A home, a future. And you threw it away for what? An aging gym trainer? A neighbor with gambling debts? My cousin." The guard stepped forward. "That's enough." Mrs. Halter back to the holding room. As she was led away, Lorna looked back at Jack one last time. "I know I messed up. Please help me." Jack turned away without answering. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The prosecution built a meticulous case. The defense tried to suggest that Jack himself was the more likely suspect, but the evidence told a different story. Jack had alibis for the critical times, witnesses who placed him elsewhere, digital records of his movements that never brought him near the murder scene. Meanwhile, Lorna's past was exposed in humiliating detail. Her affairs with all three men, the money she'd given Joseph, the videos she'd sent Devin, the hotel rooms she'd shared with James, the yoga classes that never existed, the lies she'd told, the double life she'd led on the final day. The jury returned after just 4 hours of deliberation. On the count of murder in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. Lorna collapsed, sobbing, as the verdict was read. Her attorney patted her shoulder awkwardly. The judge's voice was solemn. Lorna Halter, you have been found guilty of the premeditated murder of James Kincaid. I hereby sentence you to 25 years in prison, with no possibility of parole for 15 years. As the guards led her away, Lorna's eyes found Jack in the crowd. He stood, holding her gaze until she disappeared through the door that would take her to prison transport. Beside him, Mara squeezed his arm. "It's over, Jack." "Almost," he replied. 1 week after the sentencing, Jack visited Lorna in prison. She sat across from him in the visitor's room, orange jumpsuit hanging loose on her already thinning frame. Her face was gaunt, eyes shadowed. Without makeup, she looked older, diminished. "I didn't think you'd come," she said. "I wanted to see you." Jack replied. "One last time." Hope flickered in her eyes. "Are you going to help me appeal?" "My lawyer says there might be grounds." "No." Jack's voice was firm. "I'm not here to help you, Lorna. I'm here to say goodbye." The hope died. "Jack, please. I didn't kill James. You have to know that. What I know is that you betrayed me. Repeatedly. With multiple men. In our home. In our bed. I made mistakes." "Mistakes?" Jack leaned forward. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is saying something hurtful in anger. What you did was deliberate. Calculated. For months. Years, maybe." Lorna's eyes filled with tears. "I was unhappy. You were always working. Always focused on a business. I felt invisible. So you made yourself visible to other men. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Lorna? Explain it to me. Help me understand why my wife was sleeping with my cousin. With our neighbor. With a man 10 years younger than her." Lorna had no answer. "Just tears." Jack stood up. "I'm selling the house. Donating your clothes, the jewelry, your car. Everything that was yours will be gone by the end of the month." "You can't do that." Panic edged into her voice. "Where will I go when I get out?" "Not my problem." Jack turned to leave, then paused. "The life insurance company is investigating James's policy, by the way. Turns out there are some irregularities. They're cooperating with the police. Might add fraud charges to your sentence." "I never took out any policy," Lorna protested. "Jack, I swear I'm being framed." He looked at her coldly. "By who?" "Devin, who left town the day before James died. Joseph, who moved 3 states away 2 weeks earlier." "Who would frame you, Lorna?" She stared at him, sudden understanding dawning in her eyes. "You," she whispered. "It was you." Jack said nothing. "You killed James." Her voice grew stronger. "You framed me." "My God, Jack, what did you do?" "I didn't do anything," he said quietly. "You killed everything long before I made it official." He turned and walked away, ignoring her increasingly frantic calls behind him. Outside the prison, Mara waited in her car. Jack slid into the passenger seat. "How did it go?" she asked. As expected, he stared straight ahead. "She knows." "Will she tell anyone?" Jack shook his head. Who would believe her? A convicted murderer claiming her husband framed her? Against all the evidence? "No. She's trapped. Just like she trapped me." Mara started the car. "Where to now?" "Home. I need to finish packing up the house. The sale closes next week. And then we start over." Jack looked at her. "Together, if you want." Mara smiled, reaching for his hand. "I've been waiting a long time to hear that." They drove away from the prison, leaving Lorna and the past behind. 1 year later, the storefront was modest but clean, with a freshly painted sign, "Second Chance Renovations." Inside, Jack reviewed blueprints with a young contractor while Mara handled calls at the front desk. Their nonprofit focused on renovating homes for people starting over after betrayal or abused divorced spouses, people escaping bad relationships, families rebuilding after tragedy. In its first year, they'd completed 6 houses, with 4 more in progress. Jack looked up as the bell over the door jingled. A woman entered, nervous, clutching a folder of papers. "Can I help you?" Mara asked. "I hope so." The woman glanced around uncertainly. "I was told you might, that you help people who need to start over." Jack approached, extending his hand. "Jack Halter, this is Mara Vallon. And yes, that's what we do. I'm Emily. Emily Turner." She swallowed hard. "My husband, he left 6 months ago. The house is falling apart. I can't afford repairs, and I can't sell it as is. I have 2 kids. I don't know what to do." Jack gestured to a small conference table. "Why don't we sit down and talk about it?" As they discussed Emily's situation, Jack felt a sense of purpose that had been missing for years. Here was someone he could truly help. Someone who deserved a second chance. Later, after Emily left with a promise that they would assess her house the following week, Mara joined Jack at his desk. "You're good at this," she said. "Helping people rebuild. Takes one to know one," he replied, taking her hand. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." "What do you think they are now?" Mara asked suddenly. "The 3 of them?" Jack knew who she meant. Devin's living in a trailer park in Arizona, working as a bouncer at a strip club. Last I checked, he still walks with a limp. Joseph, divorced, bankrupt, working as a bank teller in Idaho. His daughters won't speak to him. And Lorna? Jack was quiet for a moment. Still in prison. 14 more years before she's eligible for parole. Her appeal was denied last month. Do you ever regret it? Any of it? Jack considered the question. I regret that it came to that. I regret that she wasn't who I thought she was. But no, I don't regret what I did. Mara nodded, understanding. That night, they walked along the river that ran through Redmond. The town looked different to Jack, now not the place of betrayal it had once been, but a place of rebuilding, of starting over. "I was thinking," Mara said, "about expanding the nonprofit, maybe adding counseling services. A lot of the people we help could use someone to talk to." "Sounds perfect," Jack agreed. "You'd be good at that." They stopped on the bridge, looking out over the water. Jack thought about everything that had happened, everything that had changed. He had lost his wife, his home, his old life. But he had found justice, found purpose, found Mara, or rather, found his way back to her. No regrets. Mara asked again, searching his face. Jack shook his head. "They chose fire," he said quietly. "So I became the one who lit the match." He pulled her close, and together they watched the river flow beneath them, carrying the past away, making room for whatever came next.